we are capturing the beauty and character of North Carolina. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, we have millions of ways for you to see North Carolina in a unique and stunning light. Join us as we tag along with photographers who capture subjects that are beautiful, groundbreaking, sometimes haunting, yet together truly inspiring. It's all on My Home, coming up next. All across the state, we're uncovering the unique stories that make North Carolina my home. Can't beat North Carolina as the premier outdoor playground with beautiful landscapes and views for miles. Well, one group of photographers really loves to get out here and roam around to capture those views.
Well, that's perfect for that, for just the landscapes.
But it's the collaborations that are really quite special. I saw the rugged side of My Home and Sea.
There you go. My Home and Sea off-road.
My Home and Sea off-road, that's right.
It's magic, honestly, like getting to meet people who love the same kind of stuff and like in a place as beautiful as this. I don't know, changes my life a lot in a lot of ways.
So our group is Roam Outdoors. You can find us on Instagram.
So I feel like with what we're doing, we're sharing the beauty of one of the most beautiful places in the world.
Right now we're on Hawksbill Mountain, which is part of the Linville Gorge area. So it's one of the spots to be for sunrise, sunset. You have the 360 view.
Perfect, thank you. To our left, we have Table Rock. Then we have Roan Mountain. We have Sugar Mountain and Grandfather.
Most of us are landscape or nature photographers. We do have a couple portrait photographers. You know, we all have our day jobs. It's kind of get away from the daily stress and the daily routine.
We're all different backgrounds because we have that common love of photography. We have the common love of the mountains and getting outside and exploring.
We have other hikes planned and the water in Linville Falls. Because of the rain, I think it's going to be nice.
It's going to be pretty.
That's our next spot.
I'd say the Linville Gorge is definitely becoming one of my top places. Just all the special memories and moments that I've had here just really makes it top of my list. There's one back that way, right? It's just different from anywhere else around here in North Carolina, I feel like. It just feels like you're in a totally different world. Doing the whole Roam Outdoors, it's been great, just meeting new people. You know, I like it just because a lot of us are different kind of shooting style. You know, all of us shoot different, and being able to talk about it with each other, you know, just to let people experience something that they've never been able to experience. We are going to go to the Lynn Cove Viaduct right here.
So this is like a rarity to be able to walk on the parkway.
It is.
Because we're on the Blue Ridge Parkway right now, but it's closed because of the weather, right?
Yes. A lot of people that will message me or comment on my picture and they'll say, thank you so much. You know, I haven't seen that place in 30 years. I haven't seen that place in 40 years. And you brought me back to that moment where I first saw it. And it is the most touching thing. That's what keeps me going in this.
It's just the enjoyment of being in the mountains. It's a reason to get out.
That's kind of the beauty of it there, is that you get to collaborate and you get all those different perspectives in one spot and you can find a way to mesh them all together and make something new, you know?
first get out on the trail, it's my favorite part of the start of my day. The smell of bears, it's a sweet musk. It's just the most amazing scent out in the wild. As I'm walking, sometimes the fog is still on the ground, and so it's really heavy and rolling, and it looks otherworldly. And that's truly one of my favorite parts of it, is that for one day in my life, everything turns off. It's just me out there with them and all wildlife, really, and the trees and the grass and the sunrise. It's just nothing compares to that in my mind. It's just a place of true solace. My name is Cassia Rivera. My home is Holly Springs, North Carolina. So my life consists of homeschooling my children 5 days a week and studying, researching, photographing the American black bear 7 days a week. Organization is the key to how I do everything, and also making sure I get that quiet time every night to plan out the next day and be able to hit the ground running. When I wake up at 5:30 in the morning, I can do work then, and then homeschool, and then more work after. That's kind of how I juggle it when I'm not in the field. It is 2:40 in the morning, and I am making my sons their lunch for today because when I'm gone, it's important they still know I love them. I'm gonna always leave them a little note so they know that I'm still with them. A tactic that I use in driving in the middle of the night to bear territory is just to hug the inside of the 2 lanes. If a bear decides to cross right in front of that car, he's not gonna have a chance. People don't realize they're driving through some of the most densely populated wildlife areas in North Carolina and really the country. I actually get questions all the time. A standing bear, is it aggressive? You know, that's a huge misconception. They stand to gain intel and to be able to connect sight, sound, and hearing together. So standing bears are curious bears. They are not there to attack.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna park right here and we're gonna go on foot. So right now I'm looking for newly shaped grass trails. Sometimes when you see an opening, you might find a sleeping bear. And of course, always remember to look up.
You have to understand their cues because they will literally communicate right from eye contact. They use their ears, their mouth, their posture. So if you can pick up on what they're communicating to you in the very first encounter, you will have a successful and respectful and peaceful time with them.
Because it's spring, they prefer sedge as their vegetation. Sedge is a grass-like plant, and it's really high in protein. And you can tell the difference between sedge and grass because the sedge is a thick triangular blade. I'm gonna peek around this tree line, and if we don't see any, we can move on. All right, back to the car. There's not enough sign of them here.
So I've seen worry, furrowed eyes from a mother. There was a great divide between 2 cornfields, and there was a male passing through and this mother with very young cubs. And I could see the worry and concern on her face. A week or 2 after that, I could see her goofy face when her and her children would play together. She had a difference of body language when she was protective versus playing with her kids.
What are those things? I can't tell. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how calm it is right now though. That is so wicked. Yeah, he sees a bear, I bet. Look at the position of his camera. All right, so I'm gonna try to see what he sees before we get to him. It's another owl. Is that another owl? That's incredible. Look how proud he's standing.
I'm also involved heavily in photo donations to BearWise program, bear rescues around the country. I've launched a bear class for the first time. That is a dream come true. My goal is to reach as many people as possible with education about bears.
That looks like a mom. Hi, sweetie. What a beautiful bear. Sometimes the paws will suction into the mud and you can see her walking very slowly and carefully because the mud is sucking her paw down. And then now traveling quicker. carefully. Did you see how beautiful that bear was? Her ears, because they stayed forward, they stayed up, her ears staying up, her posture not changing, her traveling and the way she was going just shows that she was comfortable with where we were and good to go.
A lot of people don't know this, but maybe half of the time my two boys are with me. They are the ones that help me choose the photos because I really value how they see the world. They see it purely and they see it how I feel everyone should see it. I very much rely on them to show me which ones speak to them.
The owl preening itself, that was an amazing encounter, awesome photograph of that. One of my favorite photographs was of the bear and her habitat. The leaves, the wood, the water was just absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait to work on it and tell everyone about her.
I absolutely am passionate about teaching others. Just learn the behavior of the animals that you wish to know more about in the wild, and you will have an amazing encounter. They will open up their world to you, and that's what the bears have done for me.
What am I looking for when I come into a house? I kind of look at things two ways. You know, I want to document things, but I also want to create photographs that are really nice artistically. My name is Watson Brown. My home is Tarboro, North Carolina. My passion is actually my house here that I've retired to, which is an old 1850s house that I've restored. Come on, come walk with me. I guess my relaxation passion is my photography. Never had a class in photography, but I learned how to do some finer editing and adding certain textures or overlays that make them look very different. I can give them different moods, Gothic, make them look like an old English oil painting. I was kind of an unusual kid. When I would go on trips with my parents or friends, and they were talking and thinking about other things, I was looking at buildings and houses. All of a sudden, I just get the urge to get out. I've got a book of North Carolina county maps that I use. I'd rather just take this book of county maps, go to a county, and just start driving. I get lost all the time, but I don't worry about it. We're going to go up into the northern part of the county, which still has quite a few abandoned buildings. I'll travel all over eastern North Carolina, most every road I can find, trying to find treasures, ways of life, sometimes people. And the owners have said we could go up and kind of explore around them, so that's what we'll do. And I see quite a few houses that are really wonderful pieces of architecture like this, and they're overgrown. It's almost symbolic of what's happened in the state and the country. You know, with rural areas, they've just declined. Every time I come here, the lighting's always a little different season. I take tons of photos. And now when I take basic photos, I'm much more conscientious about how I see it, how I angle it, what I know will be a better composition. Over the years, my eye can just zoom in on it. this case, you see the federal wainscoting with the reeded blocks. The light might be coming through the windows. Look at the scorch marks. It's amazing, this place. My understanding is that there was a tenant here that set the house on fire. You hear all kinds of stories when I talk to people. And you know, Southerners love to tell good stories. I started showcasing my art. What intrigued me the most is that these people really loved what I was doing. People have said that my photography is so good for awakening memories in people.
His work is very exciting and dazzling, yet it does maintain the focus of the North Carolina subject matter. So Watson's work is based on the work of the important early 20th century Southern photographers, such as Eudora Welty or Bayard Wooten. Watson goes outside of the margins with his pop art color and his drama. I dare say that there are examples of his work that get quite bohemian. He has a number of magic processes. There are screens and filters and saturation tools and overlays.
And then I start playing with the different textures. Sometimes I don't have a clue what it's going to end up being.
The printing method is called an ultrachrome print, which is a newer ink method that has UV filtering properties, so it's a guaranteed 100-year life on the print.
I think what has evolved in me is the joy of transferring to other people to just learn how to look and appreciate what we've got, because if you're not careful, it won't be here.
I've had people tell me, whenever your name comes up in a conversation, they're like, he's been talking about this project for like 4 years. And so the imperative for me was to collect dirt at specific locations around the South. And I wanted to bring somebody along to help me document that trip. And so I asked Titus.
You know, there was an older woman that was just walking right there. Yeah, turn around. I'm a documentary photographer. What Dave and I do, I think that the other thing that we really connected on is that our work is about presenting this counter narrative about situations and about people, about the world that we both live in.
I'm Dave Alsor-Brooks.
I'm Titus Brooks Higgins, and my home is Durham, North Carolina.
So every spot that we stopped at had some significance to either of us. For me, the spots were about specific things that happened in Southern hip hop back in the 90s and bleeding into the 2000s a little bit. So a studio where something was recorded.
So we're here at the world famous Stankonia Studios for the first sample collection for the Dirty South Art Project. And right inside here is where a lot of Southern hip hop history was made in the 90s.
Collections of dirt at these specific spots are going into shrines that I'm building that revere these lyrics that I grew up with that were motivational for me. The reason I collected dirt was about the place.
Here I'm at a house that was the original dungeon. Here's the final stop on the Georgia leg of the Dirty South Art Tour. I'm here in LaGrange, Georgia. I'm here on McCosh Mill Road.
It's all about the place. Like, none of these things would have happened if people wouldn't have been in the places where they were, and that's why it's so prominently featured in each of the pieces. You have to look through the lyric to the place.
One of the things about anything about my life that's related to art is the fact that it was only a couple of years ago that I realized that I was a Southerner. One of the things that's very important about the South, and I think that we tend to forget now, is that the South is about the land. It's about the dirt. It's where our blood, it's where our sweat, it's where our tears, it's where everything that we are really about, where it all comes from. When I agreed to go on this trip with Dave, one of the things that I knew was that we were going to be going to a lot of African American neighborhoods. And the question for anyone that's black, you think, well, wait a minute, I'm going into these neighborhoods with this white guy. And the question for me is this someone that is not going to say the wrong thing? And I knew that I could trust Dave in that as I walk up to people and I'm talking about photographing them, that Dave was never going to do anything stupid that was either going to put what I wanted to do in jeopardy. You have to feel comfortable with people that you're doing this kind of work with. And you're going to be in a car with someone for 5 days. You know,
definitely got comfortable.
You got to know them.
So the way the trip started was we flew out to Houston and we rented a car. We went to Home Depot, got some 5-gallon buckets and a shovel, and set out on our trip.
I'd never really photographed in Houston. So I grew up in this small neighborhood, but I'd never photographed in my neighborhood. But I realized that much of my work comes out of the fact of that neighborhood. And it's about telling the truth about who poor people are. They're poor people who don't get much respect when they're outside of their community, but when they come back into their community, they're Mr., they're Reverend, they're leaders of the neighborhood. And so I have a tremendous respect for who they were and who they are.
We see a man walking with some children on the street, and Titus is like, I'd like to talk to him.
Go back to the store on the corner. That guy that's in the, has his t-shirt off. I really wanted to photograph him because he had these 3 kids. And I was
adorable.
Well, not only were they adorable, but they adored him.
Yes.
And it was important to me to take his photograph because it worked to dispel the myths, the notions about black men and their children.
The trip for me was transformative in many ways. There were pieces that I was working on before we went on this trip that when I came back to them, they had a completely different meaning or a deeper meaning, or it changed the way that I present them and talk about them.
What are you feeling right now? Can you not talk?
I'll talk later. So I went to this place right after my 40th birthday. And I am 44. These lyrics started meaning something to me early on. I can remember in middle school getting into hip hop. The metal frames are this beautiful, shiny object that represents the music, but if you really delve into it, it's not about a chalice or a club or whatever. A lot of it is about motivating yourself, being yourself, not letting other people tell you who you are.
I think it's very important when you talk about, when you use the word friends. And I talk to people very clearly when they say, well, you know, I've got black friends. And I say, well, wait a minute. When was have you ever invited them to your house for dinner? Did they come to your daughter's wedding? Did you go to their house for dinner? And most people will say no. I said, well, then that's actually a workmate that you have a relationship with. That's not a friend. And Dave and I have developed that sort of relationship. So for us to go through the South together without incidents, to me it says maybe there is hope. Or maybe the hope is that two people can get together and are willing to do something like that. And maybe that's where the hope comes from, is from the action.
Next time on My Home. The North Carolina coast encompasses beauty, history, and fun.
Don't move again until the music starts to play.
Join us as we explore some of our most treasured people, places, and coastal traditions.
It was just this great mixture of old school and new school.
The coast is calling, and it's all on My Home.